How's it going, guys? Today we're getting back to work on the CRX project, so let's roll that intro and get into it. So today I want to have a good look at the front suspension on the CRX. So you can see I already got it up on jack stands, and I noticed a few problems already just in jacking up the car. So I'm going to flip the camera around and kind of show you guys what's going on right now. We'll get the wheels off and then we'll see what's really happening. So I already knew this car had rust when I bought it, but I had a good look at the floor and the floor seemed solid. But I already knew, like looking at the body, that there was definitely going to be some rust issues. But the first big issue that I just noticed when trying to jack up the car is this jacking point right here is basically gone, and it's pushed right up into the side skirt and into the floor a bit. But today I just want to focus on the front suspension and possibly getting these wheels swapped out for some ones that are actually the right size, because these are way too big for this car. These are a 17-inch wheel, but the tires are a 215/45/17, which is again way too big. These are actually touching the fender when we have the car lowered all the way. So I want to get these wheels off of here first, kind of see what's going on. Something I noticed already. Yeah, that shakes quite a bit. So I've noticed that the tie rod end in here isn't even tight. So I'm hoping it's just a matter of tightening that up and this will be solid again. Otherwise we're gonna need new tie rods. But yeah, we won't know the full extent until we start tearing into this thing. So let's get going on it. Alright guys, so this is first glance with the wheel off. I'm noticing obviously the tie rod end doesn't even look like it's bolted all the way. They got the nut on there upside down and it's just barely hand threaded. So that'll be why it was so shaky in the front. Then I'm also noticing up here, this ball joint is not fully seated either. So it makes me wonder if that's even fully bolted down, or if it's just shot. We're gonna have to replace those for sure. The other side actually looks quite a bit better than this. And then as you can see here, the coilovers that we were supposed to have are actually lowering sleeves on the factory struts. And if you have a look, I don't know if you can see here, this is where I guess the sleeve must have caught on the cylinder itself or something on the strut, and it actually dug itself right into there. And as you can see, it's all open right now, and it's exact same on the other side. So I'm not too crazy about that. I think we're gonna have to replace these struts and just run some factory springs. We're gonna be in a lot better shape if we use those, and it's gonna perform a lot better than these things ever would. But I think because right now we just wanna get it driving so we can go up and down the road a couple of times, I'm just going to try to adjust these sleeves as high as they'll go, and then see if I can get enough wheel clearance, slap some different wheels on here, and then we'll call it good for now. But at least we know that we're for sure gonna have to order struts and springs. So yeah, brakes will also be another thing. These ones are quite rusty. The other side is way worse, and there's a little bit of pad material left on this side, but it's non-existent on the inside. So rotors and pads for sure on the front. Okay guys, so I've let these threads here kind of soak in penetrating fluid for a little bit. And I dug through our collection of coilover wrenches and found a couple that'll work. So I was actually able to loosen these rings off, and they actually move quite freely. So luckily they're not seized, not on this side anyway. I haven't tried the other side. But I'm gonna try raising these as high as I can get them, and see if that gets us the height that we need at least, so that we can get wheels to clear. All right, guys, so that didn't actually take too much time to do. I was basically able to get this all the way up all by hand. I didn't even have to use a wrench. So basically I just kept twisting the threads, and then that raised this up, and I was able to get it almost maxed out. There is kind of a measuring system on the side here, which I don't really know what it means, but I'm basically on the 40 line right now, so that way I can get the other side the same as this, and then I just use the wrench at the end to tighten this collar so that it won't be moving on me. Now when I have it lifted like this, you can really see, if I get the light in here, how torn up that actually is. So yeah, we're definitely gonna need new struts and springs for sure, because yeah, that's no good. But yeah, at least I know that these things aren't seized, and they work as they should. So I'm gonna get going on adjusting the other side now, and then we'll see if that one's just as easy, and then hopefully I can get this tie rod and ball joint sorted out, and then that might be it for the front suspension for today. All right, guys, so now I got this side finished as well, and it's also on the 40 line, so it's an even height with the other side. Now what I want to do is get to work on this tie rod end. So I had been letting it soak in penetrating fluid as well, and I was able to get the nut off. I buzzed it off with the impact here, and I tried threading it on the other way, and it's a little bit rusty, as you can see. So I'm gonna let it soak a little bit more, and then I'll see if I can thread it on there by hand. If not, I might run the tap and die over it just to clean up the threads a bit, and then I should be able to zap it on with the impact, and then that'll be good and tight. And then the only thing I got to worry about now is this ball joint. So I'm gonna get cracking on that, and then we're just about done. All right, guys, so now with that cap off, you can tell that this is not tightened at all. So chances are they just tried to tighten it by a ratchet or something, and it probably started to spin, and they just left it. So now I'm gonna see if I can get this out of here, see if the threads are in good shape, and then I may just be able to impact this one on here too. So I'm gonna get working on that now. Well, that didn't work at all. So what I ended up doing is loosening the nut off altogether. I lowered the jack to relieve tension on here and got the spindle loose so I could work on these threads a bit. The threads on here actually weren't too bad. I was able to clean them up with a wire brush, and they seem pretty good. But then I tried spinning the nut back on, and the nut kept getting stuck. But I did happen to find a fresh, basically new nut. So I'm going to use this because it threads on there really nicely, and I should be able to hopefully just get it impacted on. Well, the impact obviously wasn't working because I couldn't get a good angle in here, but using those lockjaw pliers and a ratchet actually got the job done. So with the lockjaw pliers, I could put pressure on here, which prevented the ball joint stud from spinning inside, and then I was able to get this nut pretty tight. So I'm very happy with that. So this is done, tie rod is done, and the shocks are adjusted. So I think that's all I can do on this today. I'm going to quickly inspect the other side and make sure that it's all good, and then if it is, then that's basically it for the front suspension. All right, guys, so I still got some time left in the day, so I figured I'd get started on the rear suspension. And having a look over here, it doesn't look too bad actually. I noticed that we got some aftermarket camber arms up top here, as well as some aftermarket lower control arms. And looking at this, there's a lot of play in there, so I don't even know if there's a bushing in here. It doesn't look like it. It's kind of the same on the other side as well. The other bushings look to be solid, but I kind of want to take this apart, kind of see what's going on there. I do have some skunk 2 urethane bushings that might just fit in here. If not, then I think I have some spare lower control arms kicking around too that I might be able to slap on here instead. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it. First, I want to get these adjusted. So this one, as you can see, is almost as low as it can go. But I noticed that even if I have it raised all the way, the spring still doesn't contact it the way it should. So I don't really like these at all. So I'll say it again, we're definitely going to have to order new springs and struts for this thing. Now, when I look at the other side, I'm a little concerned that this might not even do anything adjusting them, because looking at this one, it is basically raised all the way already, and this side was still super low. So I don't know, I'm gonna leave this one alone, I think, but I'm gonna raise the other one up as high as it'll go, just like I did on the fronts. And then once we slap some tires on it and lower it to the ground, then we'll get a definite answer of what it's gonna look like. But for the time being, I'm just gonna raise this one up and then see if I can get those lower control arms off of there and see what's going on under there. Hopefully it's not rusted too bad, but because it is aftermarket, I'm assuming it's been done somewhat recently, so they shouldn't be too bad. So making some progress here, guys. I got these both adjusted on both sides now. I did end up raising the other side a little bit just because there was a little bit of space left. So these are both maxed out on each side. And then I've also had all these bolts kind of sitting in penetrating fluid while I was doing that. And I took the breaker bar and all of these broke loose. And often problems with these is the bushing. There's a metal sleeve in there that gets seized onto the bolt, and then there's no way of getting it out unless you cut it. But these ones are actually all broken loose and they're turning freely. So I'm going to take the impact gun now and see if I can zap these off of here and see, maybe we can get this thing removed and it won't be too bad. All right, so that lower control arm is out, and turns out there was a bushing in here, but it is way beyond shot. So I could pop it out just with my finger, but yeah, it just looks like your standard aftermarket urethane bushing. Actually, this might even be rubber because it's pretty squishy, but yeah, I do have some skunk 2 urethane bushings that may work in here, so I may give those a try. But I'm gonna try getting the other side off now, and then we'll see what we can do. All right, guys, update. So I got both lower control arms off, and bushings are shot in both of them. And I dug through some of my skunk 2 bushings that I have, and these ones do not fit. I guess these are specific for the EK chassis, and they will not work in these. And the other lower control arms that I have that are skunk 2 are also for the EK, and they're quite a bit longer than these, so they will not work. So we are going to have to use these, or we're going to have to find some OEM lower control arms with good bushings. And then once I finish that, I just wanted to take the drum apart just for giggles, and look at all this rust that poured out of there in doing so. When I pulled the cover off, both brake shoe pads just fell right off. They're basically disintegrated, and we just got so much corrosion in here, like it's disgusting. But good news is the bearing feels fine, so we shouldn't have to replace the wheel bearing. But yeah, definitely gonna need some work. So here's what I've added to the list under suspension. Definitely gonna need some OEM struts and springs to get rid of those lowering sleeves. And we're gonna need some lower control arm bushings, or possibly if we can find some OEM lower control arms, then we may just swap those in there as long as they have good bushings in them. front brake pads and rotors for sure, rear brake shoes as well. And then we just need to find some wheels and tires. So I thought that I had some Steelies with winter tires in the backyard that originally came on Frankenstein, but I must have either sold them or thrown them out because I can't find them anywhere. All right, guys, well, that's probably gonna wrap up the video for today. I know it doesn't really seem like I got a lot done, but we got a really good idea now of what we got to order for suspension parts and what it's going to take to get this thing safely driving. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you're stoked about this build, definitely give it a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and please drop a comment below. Let us know what you think. We love to hear feedback from you guys, and we will see you next time.